Today we're back on the AI train, not OpenAI. We're talking about the other one. I'm talking about Anthropic today, and how their models have been able to escape containment as well, and hack, in this case, three real companies. So actual impact, the escaping sandbox, causing possible damage and harm to three real businesses. So this is obviously headline news for all the wrong reasons. Anthropic has been in the headlines for a lot of things, but now they have decided to match OpenAI's headline and also post that their models have escaped containment. And I read through all the articles as well as Anthropic's official posts so that you don't have to see if there's something that we should be genuinely concerned about or if it's more of a clickbaity PR stunt that Anthropic might be doing. So after reading all the articles, I keep coming back to the Anthropic post itself because it provides the most detail. It is pretty lengthy and verbose, so I'll try to speed run through this, but I'll have all the articles as well as Anthropic posts in the description if you want to kind of read through it yourself and see the details of the scenarios that they're mentioning. It's important to note that this wasn't a active live breach that happened like OpenAI did. So I made a 3-part series on OpenAI and how I ended up hacking Hugging Face. You can watch those videos again down in the description as well. Essentially, OpenAI was able to breach Sandbox due to some lateral movements, gain internet access, and end up hacking Hugging Face. This was all in real time, so Hugging Face posted an article saying we've been hacked, OpenAI raising their hands saying, yep, that was us, and then them collaborating together on figuring out why and how it happened. This new article is Anthropic saying, we saw OpenAI do this. As a result, we went through and did a retrospective on our cybersecurity evaluations. And in that process, we found 3 scenarios that these AI models were able to access the internet and cause some possible harm to 3 real businesses. So in total, they reviewed 141,000 evaluations where Claude could have obtained internet access, and out of those, they found 3 scenarios. So kudos to them for doing this retrospective in the first place, recognizing that there might be something wrong, and actively going through the process of doing this investigation. Honestly, it should be part of the standard process now going forward because these AI models are getting better and they're able to kind of outsmart the sandbox environments that they're currently in. So this should no longer be a suggestion anymore. It should be mandatory. Again, we saw with OpenAI when they escaped Sandbox, a pretty immediate response from Congress wanting to implement an AI kill switch. Anthropic releasing this is probably not going to help that bill. Well, it might help the bill get passed, but it's not helping the use case of enabling an AI kill switch being blocked. So again, this should be part of standard practice. Whenever evaluations are complete, see what actually happened and if it was able to breach containment. They did mention and kind of point the finger at a company called Irregular. Irregular is their evaluation partner. As of right now, I can't find any articles or news regarding this breach in their system. I'm sure it's not positive for them. Anthropic is kind of pointing the finger at them, saying there's some miscommunication and some misconfiguration between us and them, and this is what resulted in the unauthorized access to these 3 businesses. They do mention that this was part of a capture the flag exercise, the flag being essentially a specific objective to break in and retrieve. For some definitions, AI models are essentially chat agents with hands. They're able to do stuff autonomously, create codes, create script, be able to build a very sophisticated attack by chaining things together in order to accomplish a task, right? It doesn't have to be hacking. It could be, creating a video or building out a resume, whatever it may be. You give it a prompt, the AI model is able to kind of do things on its own and ultimately return back a desired outcome. It did say that Anthropic and the evaluation partner had specifically tried to prompt it that it is a simulation and it had no internet access, but due to some misunderstanding, it was actually able to kind of proceed. So there's some pointing fingers here. Ultimately, 3 businesses are impacted, and it's important to note that it wasn't a crazy sophisticated attack. It was actually pretty basic. It was weak passwords and unauthenticated endpoints. that kind of resulted in this. 3 models: Opus 4.7, Mythos 5, and an internet research test model, which is not given a name. So seems like this is pretty recent in terms of which models were being tested. So we're not looking at like a 2-year back thing. We're looking at these evaluation runs that were run pretty recently, even though it doesn't give specific exact dates regarding this. Oddly enough, or maybe not oddly enough, because we saw this with OpenAI scenario as well, they were not given the same standard guardrails that would be kind of deployed on models when they become generally available. Seems to be a trend that these AI model providers are testing their stuff in sandbox without any guardrails in order to either achieve a really good benchmark or achieve a very surprising result, which is kind of scary. Both Anthropic and OpenAI both boast about having best practices, published papers regarding how to do model research and safety research and all that stuff. Yet when they're doing their own testing, they seem to be just turning everything off. Whether it be a point of proving a point that their models are the best out there, or it's part of their process to intentionally cause breakage in terms of research, is unknown. However, this is becoming a higher risk. And again, this is kind of going back to Congress's response on them wanting to pull a kill switch now. This is maybe more detrimental than helpful. If they can't properly rely on their third-party tools, or in this case, evaluation partners, to contain the models that they may not have any awareness of their capability, the internet kill switch bill for AI is more and more appealing, especially to those that are unaware of the current state of AI capabilities, right? If you can fearmonger very, very easily in saying these AI models are escaping containment and they're becoming sentient and they're hacking the world, when in reality it was just a miscommunication and misconfiguration on both Anthropic's and it looks like Irregular's part as well. They did say that they notified all 3 organizations as of Monday, July 27th. 2 organizations were able to be reached, and they have previously not detected activity or contacted us. So they're saying essentially 2 out of the 3 were contacted. 1 is still being attempted to be reached, and the 2 that they did contact weren't even aware of this, which is again alarming. The AI model escaped containment, hacked the business was not even aware, which is pretty crazy. And again, they're working closely with Irregular as a partnership, and based off no release, I assume that Irregular is still doing their own post-mortem or research on what happened. Let's take a look here. It's a lot of detail here. I want to focus, if I read this entire article, it'll take like 30 minutes to kind of break down each topic. I did want to say that they kind of grouped these runs into scenarios. So in the first one was 4 runs, which is classified as one scenario, and then the other one was 2 runs classified as one scenario. Essentially, they're grouping them as a way of saying it impacted this one company 4 times and it impacted this other company 2 times. And so it looks like Opus 4.7 was like, oh, we're doing good, let's keep doing good. Mythos 5 was like, this is probably not okay, but surely this is a simulation, so let's continue attacking. And then the latest research model, whatever that may be, was like, oh no, we're in fact in a real scenario on the internet, let's just stop, which is pretty crazy. I did want to also point out that this did result in a Python package being introduced with some malware that resulted in 15 real system installs, which ultimately is how this real business got impacted. Since then, Anthropic has been working with the vendor of this Python package in order to reverse that publish and contact the businesses impacted. In this case, it was just one, as well as expose the vulnerability. And they've essentially said we will post more details on how this was done later after the companies are notified and they work with that company directly. And how we're responding, here's their conclusion to all of this. Obviously, fixing the environments and working with Irregular is their first step. Doing a co-design evaluation environment, I think this is important because these third-party evaluation services don't know the capabilities that are being introduced, there really is no way to really safeguard this. It's like giving someone the most capable, arsenal possible, crazy tech and machinery beyond any modern capability, and then asking them to shoot this at a gun range, right? At a normal, 25-yard gun range. You don't know if you're going to blow up the mountainside, or you're going to disintegrate the target, or it's going to result in the person firing getting blown back 50 feet, right? So you're giving these sandbox environments unreasonable parameters to run off of, which I think is just crazy. So co-designing that evaluation environment seems like a reasonable first step. So yeah, it seems like they have listed out what they're going to do in next steps here. They've gone ahead and said that obviously they're going to work on designing a better environment together and also taking some responsibility. This response, I think overall it was a little bit better than OpenAI's response. They're saying we need to implement some significant controls, better safety environments, obviously co-design this with the irregular third-party evaluator, be more direct about what they're telling the model to do. And I'll let you read this on your own, because this blameless post-mortem culture is the problem, right? Because there is people that deserve to blame, right? These OpenAI models are impacting real businesses. They cannot just raise their hand and say that was us and have no repercussions. And I think overall Anthropic did handle this better, and they were a little more detailed in their report, and they're also posting more information on this as we go, so there's like more to come later. But I still think this is a little too late. I think this is one of those scenarios where it's like, we're messing up, it was us, we'll be better, we promise. All right, so that was a little dense, a lot denser than I wanted it to be, but essentially OpenAI has caused a problem and has caused a trend that resulted in Anthropic doing some retroactive review of their systems. They're also finding gaps in their security evaluation systems and softwares and partners. So Anthropic's escaping its sandbox, causing real impact to businesses, is one issue. Obviously it needs to be addressed, and the collaboration between Anthropic and these three businesses is a must. Whether there's some settlement or some financial impact or some legal consequences is too soon to say. It seems, based off of what OpenAI's hack a few weeks ago, that there's nothing that's going to be done in terms of compensation. Who knows? Like, that's outside of our view, and I would like that information to be public if it is public later on. However, it doesn't seem like these AI companies are being held accountable for their actions, even if it is not intentional in any way. I think the headlines are blown up a little bit, and these models are not hacking the world. They're not sentient and chasing their own goals. They're intentionally given a set of scenarios, and they're given the most powerful reasoning methods to achieve those scenarios specifically, not their own goals, not their own intention, not their own purpose. They're just contained in a not very well fashion, resulting in them going crazy, and impacting real businesses. So I don't think the AI went rogue. I don't think the AI is being malicious in the scenarios. I think we are just bad as humans understanding the power of AI, and we are not properly holding the AI companies accountable for when they do escape the sandbox. So good news, Anthropic is being more transparent than OpenAI. Bad news, it still happened, and it probably will continue to happen unless there's some better standards and better safeguards in place that they themselves have been pushing. And once again, if they can't contain their own data, what's to, their own models, not accessing public data, what's to say that your data that they store, or even their own personal data, isn't at risk in these AI model evaluations or capture the flag experiments or benchmarking? It's not really reassuring, and it adds to the fuel on why people really don't like these AI companies at this time. They're operating reckless, and people are waiting for the bubble to pop. And this is just fuel to the fire. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and post this video. Feel free to tell me your opinions down below. Like and share. Subscribe if you like the content. And I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks.